Good evening. Welcome to the Maplewood Alta-Vista Local Park Improvements Project. I'm going to give it a minute to let everyone join. I'll probably say good evening and welcome again in a minute. Let's just let everybody get onto the Zoom. I'm going to give it another minute here for people to join. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start this meeting. My name is Samantha Schron. I am the Architecture and Project Management Section Supervisor in the Park Development Division of Montgomery Parks. This meeting is to discuss the Maplewood Alta-Vista Local Park improvements that we have planned for the park. I am going to share this presentation with two of my colleagues. Bob Green, who is the Senior ADA Compliance Manager, and he is also a civil engineer. He's going to share the first half of the presentation with Wen Huang, who is our landscape architect who is working on the design. Before we start, I want to thank the delegates who sponsored a bond bill that has allowed this project to go forward, specifically Maryland State Senator Ariana Kelly, Maryland State Delegates Mark Corman, Sarah Love, and Sarah Wallach. Without their support, we would not have received the bond bill that is allowing us to move forward with the project that you'll hear more about this evening. So let's go to the next slide. So a couple of housekeeping items. This meeting will run approximately 30 to 90 minutes long. We'll go through the presentation of the project, how we got from the earlier scheme that was shared with the HOA to where we are today. We'll have a time for questions and comments that you can ask your questions in the chat. We'll look through them and try and answer as many as we can in the meeting. We have over 55 people pre-registered for this meeting, so I'm hoping that we'll have a lot of lively back and forth between the questions and answers, and I'm really excited about the community involvement. This meeting is being recorded, and the intent is to post the slides and the recording on the website after the meeting to look at or share with anyone who was not able to be with us this evening. And again, you can post your questions in the chat. Next slide. Okay, so just a quick overview of how we're going to break down the presentation. We will do an overview of the project with a little bit of project history. We'll share with you the earlier conceptual design and two current conceptual design options. We'll go through the next steps, and then we'll go into the questions. So here I'm going to turn it over to Bob Green, to walk you through the background of the project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you've joined us to talk about this park project. Maplewood Alta-Vista, the park itself is located inside the Beltway and west of Wisconsin Avenue, very close to the Bethesda Marriott, as well as the 270 interchange. Next slide. This slide kind of shows the overall a picture of the park, and you'll see that the park includes, the court and activity building, parking area, as well as the base, the softball field and the soccer field. For this project, we are not proposing any improvements to the soccer field or the softball field. So our concentration here is on the area that you can see here on the slide. Initially, this project was kind of started as an infrastructure improvement project where we were going to perform some ADA accessibility improvements, improve storm drainage by providing some stormwater facilities on the project, as well as doing some resurfacing of the parking lot and part of the entry drive. That was the initial focus very, very early on. Our state delegates got wind of this, and actually from that sprung the bond bill. And while the bond bill was in process, we initiated some concepts, taking this from beyond just a infrastructure plan to see if we could provide more improvements to the community. Next slide. Before we get there, we took a few snapshots of the park itself, so you can see what we're talking about. This is, of course, the entry drive, from Alta-Vista Drive, shots of the parking lot towards the activity building, the animals, in the back of the dance studio, and the playground that I'm sure so many of you are familiar with. Additionally, views of the basketball courts and towards the soccer field. You can't quite see the softball field in this picture. And then the tennis court area itself, you can see there's an electric utility shed here that is proposed to remain, but it's shown here. And then finally, on the next slide, excuse me, this is a view into the park from Linden Avenue, kind of from the back. It's kind of one you don't see or too many people see often, but this has also become kind of will become a focal point of our project. And then, of course, we have the dance studio, the activity building, pictures of the in the front and the rear of the building. So let's talk about the initial concept plan. The first one is I had a meeting with the Maplewood Homeowners Association in March 15, 2023, I'm sorry, where we presented kind of an overall concept at the time. Our goal kind of ran through a number of things we were looking at. I had already received some inquiries about putting a shelter or a seating area in the park, some requests for the basketball court to be resurfaced, parking lot improvements, etc. So this is the early concept. One thing you'll notice is that we provided a sidewalk connection from Linden Avenue into the park itself. Of course, at the moment, and as you know from the slides, there is none, and so we felt that was an improvement, an accessibility improvement that was badly needed. This does show that we were cutting back on the basketball court size in order to produce the seating area. We also were proposing a little better interconnectivity between the central court area and the park, and where folks parked, in the parking lot. You can see these circles are what we're showing as or indicating as stormwater management bioretention facilities. The overall concept here was well received. There was a number of comments that I received at the meeting, as well as follow-up over the course of the summer and actually into the fall. So from this original concept and taking into account a lot of the comments received at the March meeting and throughout the summer and early fall, we kind of migrated into a few different concepts that we'd like to show you this evening for you to, we hope you'll like them all. So when we'll be presenting these concepts to you. Next slide.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wen Huang. I'm the landscape architect for this project. So Bob has introduced the background of this project. Moving from this concept, we are providing two options for your information. So before I move to the options, I just want to briefly say that in the two options, we are renovating one of the tennis court to a multi-purpose court. And in this concept, you can see access road to the park activity building. But because of the poor drainage in front of the building, we are removing this access and turn it into a different configuration. So
yeah, if I could also jump in and add to that, during the summer, we set up a camera on the tennis courts so that we could gauge the use of the courts. And this was also an important factor that leads us to the concept plans that Wen is going to introduce to you.
yes,
Sorry about that.
thank you, Bob. So here is the option one. As you can see, both options actually are providing the access from Linden Avenue as well as a sidewalk from Alta-Vista Road. So this way we are providing a consecutive connection from both streets through the park to the major amenities. So let me start from the Linden Avenue side. The playground is was installed like 10 years ago, is still in very good condition. So it's not in the scope of these improvements. But as I said, in this option, we have a consecutive walkway and a centralized seating area next to the basketball court. The basketball court was shrink to a one full-size basketball court, so we can have more seating area. But in the tennis court, the one that we're converting to a multi-purpose court, it'll be another full-size basketball court overlaid on the soccer court. So there are some seating outside the court area as well, and this connect to the central seating area. And from there, the concrete animal is located along the walkway, so it becomes part of the play feature. Back to the parking lot, we are adding 2 accessible parking spaces and a porta-john enclosure, which can accommodate 3 porta-john potties. We're also within the existing footprint of the parking lot, increase 4 more parking spaces. And this new added sidewalk is fully accessible from the parking space to the park activity building. And we are proposing an access from here to the field with the seating area, so people can overlook to the field, access to the field, and there's an open play area that people can get to. And lastly, we do have 3 stormwater management area to solve the drainage issue of the park. The next option, the major components are pretty similar. We have a consecutive walkway through both street and to the park. The playground is again outside of the scope, but the walkway is connecting to it. The concrete animal is now in a centralized location next to the court and sitting area. And the major sitting area is next to the court space. The basketball court is a full-size court, and the existing two-half basketball court now move to the multi-purpose court. So we have enclosed space for two-half basketball court overlaid on a soccer court. This court is slightly larger than the option 1. And from there, the parking lot is the same concept as option 1. And stormwater management is the same. We don't have access from the building to the field, but we do provide a stepped access to the field from the basketball court. So the major activity are all in the court area. So here's a comparison of both options. You can see the difference of the court configuration, the difference of the play animal layout, the difference of the seating area. One is centralized next to the basketball court. One is next to the multi-purpose court. So the option 1, when we place this next to the basketball court, it can becomes part of the hard surface play in one level, and we have the option to either provide a shade structure or planting more trees and add tables with umbrella to provide shades. And you can also see the difference of the access to the field. In this option, it has a walkway that leads to the open field and open space and field. And in this option, we kept the field untouched, but with the step access to the field. So here are some pictures of the amenities that we're thinking. This is an example of the shelter. The shelter, if we're providing a shelter, it can accommodate about 2 to 3 picnic tables. And this is the round table seating, and we can consider adding an umbrella for shade. And this is a soccer court. It's different from the one we're proposing. This one is showing just a designated soccer court, but just give you an idea how this works next to a tennis court. The one we're proposing for Maplewood has it's shown here, has the basketball hoop built into the net system. And this is the bike rack, bench, and the stormwater management. This will become a feature for the park because we're planting flowering plants and has 4-season changes. It'll be nice looking. So today we're having this community meeting to gather everyone's input and feedback. After that, we will move into detailed design and trying to obtain all the permits by the end of the year. And early next year, we'll start the bidding and procurement process and move into the construction for the park. So on the right list the project team, and here is the project website that you can find in our park webpage. And the open town hall survey is open tonight. So after the meeting, I hope everyone can get onto the open town hall and leave your comments there. For now, if you have any questions, please feel free to put in the Q&A section. And meanwhile, we did get some questions when people register for this community meeting. So on the left are some of the questions or requests we got from the residents during the pre-registration. So before we go into the Q&A, let's just go through these questions. So some of them may be duplicated with the question in your mind. So first one is sidewalk along the driveway entrance. We are providing that in both options. Increased parking spaces, we are providing 4 more spaces. Add a pavilion for birthday party. So in this option, there's a option 1, there's a possibility that we can add a shade structure. It won't be a large one. Like I said previously, we can accommodate 2 to 3 picnic tables, and it's not large enough to be permitted structure. So it's kind of on the first come, first serve base. But it should be enough space to hold a smaller birthday party. Next request is convert one of tennis court for pickleball. Pickleball has been very popular in our county. Parks has built more and more pickleball courts, but for this park, our standards for pickleball is it should be stay away from the residential for 300 feet minimum, but these courts are less than 100 feet next to the residential buildings, so it's not considered in this project. Another request is keep both tennis courts. As Bob said, we have set up camera during the summer and to look at the usage of the court. So Bob, do you want to talk a little bit more about the findings?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Wen. Yeah, we set up the camera, and I'm trying to remember. It was around the end of August, early September, and what we saw was a lot of use on one court, with the second court, the one closer to the playground, receiving some use, but not as heavy as the other one. The second court was often used as a unofficial dog park, I guess, was the second use that we found most of the time. We had it up for, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 30 days. So that's one of the reasons we were considering moving or eliminating one tennis court and adding this multi-purpose court. And if I could at this point, let me just also, I think someone had questioned if the 2 courts will be fenced, and the answer is yes, and there will be a fence between the 2 courts, so they will be separated. One of the things that we at the March meeting that was pointed out very clearly was the need to have at least four hoops here, and that's the one thing we were trying to achieve. The separation, actually, we kind of think may work a little nicer because it'll allow different age groups to play at the same time. Either on one court or the other, and it also then allows for the central seating area. If we were to go to the original configuration, then this seating area shelter in the middle would completely disappear. So, Wen?
Thank you, Bob. So in one of my previous image, I'm showing a soccer court in another park in Tacoma Park, city of Tacoma Park. So this multi-purpose court has been very well received in that park because it's fully open. There's no net in the court. It becomes a multi-age inclusive space for people of all ages. When there's people playing soccer, it's a soccer court. When there's nobody playing, it becomes little kids riding bike, and parents feel very safe to keep their kids there. So it's just a new attempt for the court usage. Next question is keep the existing basketball court for multi-age group. As Bob said, the original basketball court was about here. It's pretty close to the tennis court, existing tennis court, and leaving no space for seating area. So we are now separating the basketball court into different locations, which allow kids and people of different age to use simultaneously. And we do get some requests for the basketball court needs to be renovated. And we got quite a few requests for enclosed dog park. The dog park is not in the scope for this project. It needs larger space and we need noise study. It just needs another level of coordination. So nearby there are dog parks in Wheaton Regional Park or Cavendish Regional Park. So those are the places people can play with their dogs. And playground renovation, I said this playground was built about 10 years ago. It's in a very good condition. So we'll keep it as is. There are some questions about the current operation and maintenance, like fines for littering. In our system, I don't think we're setting up fines for littering any of the park. This needs to be coordinated with park police. And next, people ask for more trees. We are definitely going to provide more trees. As shown in both options, we do want to provide more shade trees in the central area and maybe some flowering trees as well. And park has the planting program. So every once in a while, our Pope Farm will plant new trees in different parks. People ask for more seatings. We are providing different seating options for both options. And light switch doesn't work. This refers to the little electric shed next to the courts. So if we will submit a work order to the operational team so they know this happens. So that concludes all of our slides. We are open to the public for more questions.
Thank you, Wen. So we have received about 15 questions so far in the chat. Some of them touch on similar topics, so I might not hit all of them, but I'll try and cover all of the topics. Before I jump into this though, I just wanted to share one of my thoughts about this project. We can't fully see it on this slide, but one of the things I'm most excited about is the improved connectivity, which Wen and Bob both discussed. Yeah, here we go. The improved connectivity clear across the park from Linden Avenue to Alta-Vista Road, a safe sidewalk along the drive, and a proper access off Linden Avenue, and then a lot of routes within the park between the amenities. And all of this is accessible. So that is a real highlight for me about this park as someone who has used it a bunch of times as well. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone. So I'll go ahead and hit on some of the questions. There's a question here, will a track be added and will night lights be added? If not, why won't they? So our focus of this project was really around this central amenity area it's southern on this route on image, but western edge of the park. We have not explored a track or lights, but I will take that under consideration and talk with the park managers as well, and see if there's a track in the future. And night lights are a trickier component. Lighting in parks is something that we review with our Park Planning and Stewardship Division. They are setting up some guidelines about lighting in parks in general so that we are meeting night sky requirements and appropriately locating lights within our parks. So that's how I'll answer that one for now. We will be putting all of these responses probably in a summarized format on the web page after the meeting. Another question in regards to will the tennis court be pickleball ready? Wen answered this question, but I just want to reiterate, we don't have any plans to convert either of these courts to pickleball. Under our current guidelines, a 300-foot distance is required between residences and pickleball as a buffer. That might change in the future, but that's our current guideline. And so we have not explored that for this park. The next question I'm going to pass to Aaron. The question is, describe the stormwater facilities and what are they?
Hi, everybody. My name is Erin McCardle. I'm the engineer supporting this project. And yeah, I think actually it's in the precedent images. Yeah, if you go that way. So the stormwater facilities will most likely be what us stormwater folks call micro bioretentions. What they will look like on the surface is a planted garden like you see here. In the spring and summer, you'll see a lot more green leaves. In the later fall and winter, it'll be a little more empty. It's a mulched bed. We do have a maintenance crew that will weed this about once a month in the summer and keep that mulched bed clean of weeds. As far as water, people always fear having a stormwater facility means that they're going to end up with a big pond. It shouldn't hold water any more than 48 hours. Generally, we see the water recede within 12 hours in these facilities, if not less. If it's ever holding water any more than 48 hours, please report a maintenance issue and let us know. But generally, to you, they will look like a mulched garden bed we always plant only native plants in them, usually ones sourced from our own Pope Farm nursery. So they're, actually native genus seeds to Montgomery County that are then plants are propagated and we use those plants. So yes, they'll technically be called microbioretentions and they'll look like gardens. Underneath the ground, there'll be various layers of biosoil and sand that are helping to filter and clean that water, which is why they're categorized as stormwater facilities. So if there's any follow-up questions to that, feel free to put them in the chat and we can address them or in the Q&A.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, the next question has to do with the condition of the tennis courts. They're noted as in very poor condition. A lot of tennis players look for other places to play. Tennis courts are dirty and sandy from the trees. And there's a concern that with the new apartment condo complex, there should be more tennis courts. So we are aware of the pine needles that fall on the courts. And we understand from our arborists that these trees are important trees, but we would like to explore limbing them back to improve that condition. I'm going to ask Todd Holmes if he wants to add anything to that in terms of the cleanup of the courts from that debris.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, and not too much to add. My name's Todd Holmes. I'm Regional Operations Manager, and this park is serviced by our Cabin John team. And that is something we had talked about when we were reviewing some of these concepts. Putting in feedback was they know that the trees are dropping debris, and so the teams are real attuned to getting to that, trying to blow it out when they're out there servicing the park on maintenance standard intervals. So we'll try and keep that up. Unfortunately, it's the nature of trees, and but as Samantha said, maybe some structure pruning could improve upon that.
Thanks, Todd. Another comment is more shared seating, shelter, the better, so families can gather and picnic and host birthday parties. So we also agree. So we'll keep that top of mind as we continue to explore this. If there are opportunities for additional tables, we will look into that. Can you explain the advantage of having 2 half courts versus the single full court. So I think we're talking about in the conversion. I'd rather have the full court so it could be used for larger games. This kind of comment is exactly the sort of feedback we're looking for, and this question is in the open town hall for folks to vote on and express their opinion if they prefer option 1, a single court, versus option 2, 2 half courts. But maybe I will turn that over to let's see, when to touch on the advantage maybe of the half courts versus the full court.
Actually, let me jump in.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Samantha, this is Bob. When I had the meeting with the Maplewood HOA, one of the things that was impressed upon me was that there's a lot of kids who that most of the play on the basketball court is actually half court play. And so one of the reasons that we proposed the half court option was for that very thing, is that there's a lot of half court play. And this actually turns out to be larger half court areas than what's there now, and is larger than what is on the full court option. So that's just part of the reasoning for it. You know, I was told, at least at the time, that there was very little full court play, although we still maintain that option, you know, with the actually in both options. The one thing I will say, that with the 2 half court options, the court itself is larger, not only for basketball, but for a soccer court, which I think would be beneficial to appreciated by the players.
Thanks, Bob. The next question is also about the courts. Again, poor shape and lighting is inconsistent. If they were better, more people would play. They recommend both courts stay with improvements. So I just want to highlight that we are intending to repair and repaint one of the courts. That's in these schemes. So they will be in better. The single court would be in better shape, and we definitely want to try and look at the maintenance in terms of removing the pine needles and potentially limbing back the trees to help with that. I understand if it's not in great condition, people aren't inclined to play there. So chicken and egg sort of situation. We will keep talking about 2 courts versus the renovated court. We will look to the open town hall to get more feedback on that. Next comment is a thank you for doing this. It will be a great improvement. The shelter is the most important feature. That's what will create communal space for people to gather for parties and sporting events. They'd like to see it at least big enough for 2 to 3 tables. And I think that our shelter, as shown, is sufficiently sized for at least 2 to 3 tables. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that is our intent also, that it would be as a gathering space, and that's why we are also excited about positioning it kind of in the middle of the park, so kids can run off and do lots of different activities, but you can still keep your eyes on them. The next question is about the restroom. Will the restroom be updated in the small rec center so people who use the park have a place to go to the restroom? So the park activity building is not part of this project, other than we are looking at removing the gas line that feeds that building and taking it off of gas and putting it onto electric for heating and cooling, to in line with our sustainability agenda for Montgomery County. So that is a component we're looking at the park activity building, but we are not looking at doing any other improvements there at this time. We are including a new portable toilet enclosure at the end of the parking lot there. There are portable toilets that are in the park regularly. I understand they get high use during big field events, and so we wanted to provide adequate space for that and proper screening.
Yeah, the other thing I'll add, Samantha, is that the activity building is leased to a private entity, so it's not open to the public.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we can't offer that, their restrooms for public use, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to add that currently this park doesn't have a drinking fountain. That's something I forgot to mention. We're exploring the possibility to add a drinking fountain near the parking lot or the activity building for the user. And another thing I forgot to mention is the new basketball court, no, the existing basketball court, we are going to add fence on one side or two sides, so the ball will not fall into the microbial retention area.
Okay, thank you, Wen. Let's see. There was a question about whether we put up a camera in front of the basketball courts to get surveillance on the usage. We did not, as far as I know, but it was our understanding from the previous community meeting observations in the park and that the basketball courts get high usage. And we look forward to your feedback on that as well in the open town hall. Question, what kind of surface would the combined soccer/tennis court have? Would it be rubberized? So that would be a combined soccer/basketball. I'm going to pass that one to Wen, I think, to answer the surface material.
The court surface will be like the existing tennis court, both courts are asphalt surface, but we are going to repaint the existing tennis court and the multi-purpose court. Actually, same thing for the basketball court. Depending on the condition, we may need to resurface it or repaint it.
So nothing will be a rubberized court.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you for our efforts to renovate the park. Agree with offering a sheltered place in the park. More questions about the tennis court. Let's see. I believe the use of one tennis court and not the other may be due to the shade availability on one of the courts and not the other. Hence the need for more shaded areas and the need for a pavilion to offer shade. We've got some votes coming in for different schemes. Would you consider adding trash cans at the entrance to the park? Yes, I think we would consider that. When do you agree with
Yeah,
we could consider?
currently we are providing trash location and bike rack in the central area. But definitely it makes sense to add trash location in the parking lot. This is something we will coordinate with our operational team. But I agree, it's a good point.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Just scrolling through the questions. Sorry for looking away from the camera. Why can't the bench area D in option 1 also be included in option 2 if that option is adopted? Oh, there. Okay. It can be. We're asking for, we're looking for your feedback on what's important to you in terms of connections to the fields. So that extended walkway is one idea for bringing people down to the fields and providing an area for viewing and participating in the lawn activities. The other scheme was showing us a little run of stairs down. Some of those two features, the extended walkway is more expensive in this project because we've added a lot of additional walkway that we need to install. So we're looking for some feedback as to how important that is to the community so we could gauge whether it's a significant feature or not to include. But yes, those we could provide one, both, or neither. And you'll see that question in the open town hall.
Yes.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to it, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to add to it is we're going to be removing there's a concrete pad over in that for some old bleachers and then a backstop and we will be removing those to kind of create an open play area. One of the I've received several inquiries about, some informal play for, maybe volleyball or croquet or frisbee throwing, that kind of a thing. So that is kind of an option to consider, as part of it too. Just trying to provide as much flexibility for folks as possible. So there's a lot of different options in there, to choose from.
Yeah, so as Samantha mentioned, these two options are we are seeking feedback from the community. It's in the open town hall survey. So just let us know which option do you prefer, or do you prefer both. Another thing I want to point out that currently there's a poor drainage condition in front of building. So adding this walkway are more, it's more disturbance to the natural area. Some people may not like it. And also it's kind of blocking the drainage, the existing surface drainage pattern. So that's another thing to we need to consider in detailed design.
Okay. All right, I'm just glancing up and there are 36 questions and I'm not sure how far down I've gotten. So I'm going to try and read, scroll, they keep coming in. So I'm excited about that because that means that you all are engaged in this project and we've reached out to the right group. So that is great. Question about what is the timeline for this project? When do you want to pull up that project timeline slide? There we go. So the next step is to finalize the design and move into the final design documents and submit for permit. And then in the winter, so next November, December, get it out to bid and procurement, and then construct through in the new year. So a year from now, start the construction and have it finished by the spring. That's a general timeline. We'll see how things go. All right. See, I'm just scrolling through here. When you are thinking about lighting, please keep the 11 p.m. cutoff. So those of us who have their bedrooms on the park side can go to sleep. Totally understand that. I don't know what I guess the cutoff is 11 p.m. Is that right? Can someone chime in on that?
Yeah, 11's our standard.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
keep that.
And yeah, one thing we'll be doing is providing light switches that are closer to the courts themselves, as well as improving the lighting on the existing basketball court as part of the project.
Great.
Mhm.
Here we have an agreement with the majority half court play. A lot of groups just play against the basketball net. Someone else says there's very little full court play. So I think, there's a wide variety of uses of this park. So this is great. Let's see, basketball players are very used to just using half court for half court games, and with two games going on at the same time at opposite ends of the full court, no need to split for that purpose. Okay, this one says strongly prefer option 2. Shelter is important. Question here. Can you put the bench seating in the enclosed picnic area rather than 4 seats around a table? Let's see. You would like bench seating in the picnic area. Okay, more benches up there as opposed to around a table. We can consider that. Benches up, disperse benches more throughout the area. During high use events, such as the Youth Football League use, tracks often leave the parking area and drive, I think that was trucks. Trucks often leave the parking area and drive over the fields to deliver equipment and temporary tents, etc., resulting in damage to the field. Has this been reported, and can any features such as curbs be included in the rehabbed vehicle access road to prevent this? So yes, so some of the improvements that are here are going to create a greater barrier to driving off of the road or off of the parking lot. The parking lot will have a curb, I believe. Is that correct? And the stormwater management facilities will be a barrier to driving into the park there. But does anyone else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, this will be curbed. It's the first time I've heard of it as an issue, but yes, the parking lot will be curbed on this side and down the road. There'll be a stormwater management facility. There's 3, so those 3 by themselves will act as a barrier. So I think that would be quite a bit of quite a bit of barrier for any type of trucks trying to drive through here. I would imagine if there's a possibility, if somebody wants to try it, they may try it off of Linden Avenue now, and maybe that's something we look at in a little further detail. But yeah, I don't think, Todd, you can probably speak to it, but we really don't like trucks driving across our athletic fields.
That's right, Bob. No, but I haven't seen any reports of anything. We can certainly keep an eye out, notify Park Police. Some off of that Linden side, yeah, we'll have to look at it for deterrence there.
Okay, great. There was a question about the steps to the field. Can you explain the steps to the field option versus the path to the field? Is this to keep people from wearing out the grass? No, it's to provide a path that will direct people to go from the paved area or the central area down to the fields, as opposed to trying to make a path through the stormwater management areas. We don't want people really to walk from the parking lot, like right between those features. We'd like people to come around and take the stairs down or the path closer to the park activity building. So it doesn't have to do with people not wanting people to walk on the grass. People can walk on the grass, but we'd like to direct the traffic a little bit. Is there any consideration to fencing the football and soccer field? And follow-up question to that from somebody else was, why are we not considering any simple improvements to the playing fields? How can that be considered in the future? We are always open to hearing the needs of the users for the fields. So while it's not part of this project, hearing what's needed can be rolled into a later project. So I might open that back up to Todd in terms of, I don't know if we have a history of fencing football or soccer fields, and how you collect recommendations for improvements to playing fields.
Sure. We do not fence anything below a recreational level field, and so we are set up in a tiered system for regional and recreational. Fields get a certain level and frequency of maintenance, and then neighborhood local ones do as well. We really only entertain fencing and security at those regional and recreational fields. But we're in the midst of doing a large scale field condition assessment that is going to be taking place this winter, which along with our CIP funds and the athletic field renovation team that I oversee, we all work to go ahead and use those to prioritize some of our worst fields and look at either center repairs or if just general cultural inputs and rest are the ticket. So, but yeah, we're happy to get that feedback.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Are the stairs down to the fields in option 2 ADA compliant? The stairs themselves would meet code, building code, but they would not be accessible in the same way that a ramp or the walkway to the fields would be accessible. So if that's something that they're interested in, then the other scheme with the walkway down to the fields would be preferred.
Yeah,
Um,
I wanna
go ahead.
add to that. If people prefer to access the field from the court area, there are a lot of mature trees and a significant grade drop. So that's why we're providing the stairs to minimize disturbance to the tree area. So this will not be wheelchair accessible, but the stair itself is compliant to the building code.
Yeah, and just to tag team on that, if someone were to request a ramp or something down to the field, the unfortunate outcome of that is we'd probably have to remove a tree to do that, because the impacts for the grading and concrete, et cetera, for a ramp would just damage the tree too much, which is one of the reasons we have the other option there, if that becomes important to you.
Okay, thanks, Bob and Wen. Just a couple more points about the driving of trucks. So the soccer league folks also drive their trucks through the basketball courts all the time and onto the field in order to get their tents and other equipment to the field. So we will take note of that and see if we can monitor that more carefully.
As I mentioned, we do plan to add fence along part of the basketball court edge to prevent the ball rolling to the parking lot or the bioretention area. So the fence themselves will become a barrier to prevent that the trucks driving through happening and protect our court surface.
That's a great point. Thanks, Wen. Let's see. And again, trucks coming off of Linden Avenue. So we will, I guess that's also an area where trucks have been seen driving into the park. So again, we will keep an eye on that. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. Let's see, some other questions still about the tennis court. Why one court? Can we keep both courts? Keeping both courts has negative impacts on the ability to follow through with all the other improvements that we want to do, keep enough basketball courts available, introduce the potential of the soccer court, provide the centralized picnic shelter and seating. So that is why we moved away from the 2 tennis courts. We also believed that the tennis court usage did not warrant the 2 courts. But again, you can share those opinions in the open town hall, and we'll look into that a little bit further when we receive those results. Okay, somebody wrote, you mentioned a future open town hall for collecting input. Where will that be? That's a virtual open town hall. The link to that, I believe, is on the website, and we'll also post it it's posted in the chat. It'll be open through February 12th, and it has a series of questions that speak to a number of the issues that we've been talking about, but the differences between option 1 and option 2. I'll just also mention it does have a question about the location of the animals that are in the park. So option 1 in the scheme shows the animals dispersed along the path as a feature, and in option 2, they're clustered together. So we're looking to you, the community, to let us know how you like to use the animals. Are they important to you? And how you would like to see them incorporated into this new design. Got a comment about the fence around the basketball area is fantastic. It will definitely deter the trucks. Somebody noted they have called the park police regarding cars driving onto the field. So thank you. And we can check with them on that as well. Let's see. Okay, barriers on the basketball court to deter folks from driving from the parking lot onto the field has been acknowledged again as something important. Will there be more trees along the park perimeter? We get a lot of noise from the neighborhood from the Beltway. No, a lot of noise in the neighborhood from the Beltway, and this would help us, plus block newly constructed buildings. So yeah, right now we're focusing the new trees in the center of the park to provide the shade and quiet to the seating areas. We are always in favor of adding more trees. Bob, did you say that, do you want to chime in on that? I feel like you had mentioned something to me about a plan for additional tree planting.
Yes, we do have a program to supplement trees in the parks. One, to not only help replace trees that have died or been removed due to damage, but we also supplement where we can, around the periphery or around structures, or to provide shade. So it's a program that we have. They kind of rotate the tree planting crews, kind of rotate between park regions now. And I think this park will be eligible. Maybe Todd, you might know, I think in 2 years, I think it is. But we're going to do some as part of our own project. But I'm not quite sure if there's a specific area that folks are interested in. And if they are, please add that in the chat or the town hall, and we can certainly take a look at it, during the design phase for sure.
Okay, great. Question here that I think we do need to clarify. It says, did I hear you plan to remove the backstop on the southwest end of the park, leaving only the backstop on the northeast end? Is this based on lack of use of 2 fields for softball and baseball? Bob, do you want to clarify that?
Yes, according to the park manager, that backstop does not get any use. It's it's fallen into disrepair. And so this would open up the opportunity for that open play area. So that's what we were thinking. Yeah, it doesn't get any use as a softball field. It's my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Please let us know if that is not, if you do use it, if it's something that's important to you. That actually was the end of the list of questions. I know I didn't specifically touch on every single one, but we will be taking them out of this meeting and replying to them in a format that can be posted on the website. I'll give another minute for any other questions. Let's see, one came in to Bob. We use it all the time. It's only not used because the grass is never cut. Instead, we should make it a real baseball field. Okay, we will consider that and look into that a little bit further before we make any final decisions about that backstop. I appreciate that input. Occasionally I see people using the southwest backstop with someone pitching to someone to practice batting.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to give it another minute to see if anyone else wants to post any other questions. I'll open it up to the team if there's anybody who wants to add any other thoughts that we might have missed or glossed over before we begin to wrap up.
Thing I do want to mention that people have some concerns about the truck driving over the parking lot. In both options were providing the collapsible bollard at the end of the parking lot. So only the park maintenance staff have access to this driveway, to the maintenance driveway beyond parking lot.
Thanks, Wen. That's a good point. Okay. See, I'm not seeing any other questions come in.
There
One
are
more.
two. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. Two more came in. Let's see. Would you say again where the drinking fountain will be? Is it possible for it to be near the pavilion and courts? So, in order to bring the drinking fountain in, we have to bring a water line in. There's water up to the building. So the two options that we're looking at right now are to install it on the face of the building, on right either that side or exactly where, yeah, on the I guess it's the north side. That would be the easiest installation. The other option would be to install it where just adjacent to the accessible parking spaces in the parking lot area or outside the parking lot area. There's a great cost to trying to extend it further and other utilities that we need to cross underground. So we thought that that was those would be reasonable locations. The next question was, will there be a third concept to be considered if folks want to have two tennis courts, or are we set on two concepts? I would like to see how the results of the open town hall come in, look at those, confer with the team internally, look at our original sort of mandate for this park project, and make an informed decision. So I don't want to say one way or the other right now, but the point of having this meeting was to get your feedback. So that's what we want to do, and we'll respond accordingly once we have digested everything. Can you post both options online or send us links to them? Yes, the presentation will be a PDF that will be posted onto the website, so you can reference it when you're looking at the questions on the open town hall. The two options, a sort of an image like this, but with the labels, I believe is on the open town hall as well, so you can understand what you're choosing between when you're making those, when you're answering those questions. But yes, we will put the presentation on the website. I believe, let's see. The website is, there's a link to the website in the chat. So you should be able to grab it there, or if you go to montgomeryparks.org and type in, look for Maplewood Alta-Vista Park, the park website, the park page will come up. So that should be pretty straightforward. If that does not work, you can reach out to any of us on the team, Bob Green, Wen Huang, or Aaron McCardle. Okay, let's see. Question to put the website on the chat again. Let's see. So yeah, team, can we add the website onto the chat one more time? So it's at the bottom, I guess. That would be helpful. Question, would switching the tennis court and the full basketball court result in less debris for the tennis court? Yes, and more debris. One of them is going to get more debris, so we need to look at the debris, the issue of the debris, I think, so that all user groups are accommodated.
Yeah, and the other thing to think is the tennis court is much longer than need a lot larger space than the basketball court. So we just briefly looking at, we don't have the space for tennis court at the existing basketball court location, just because there's field next to it, parking lot, and trees and residential. So based on the open town hall survey result, we will evaluate the options.
Okay, let's see. We have, just checking the time, we have a little more time. So give it another minute in case anyone wants to chime in with any last questions that we can talk through here. We've gotten about 53 questions, which is great. Really appreciate the input and the thoughts that have been shared this evening. Okay. Just want to thank our team. Thanks, Bob, Wen, Aaron, and Todd for helping answer these questions. Thank you all for participating this evening. There are some open-ended questions on the survey, so you can feel free to add some more information if there's issues about maintenance or operations in the park or anything related to how this proposed improvement plan would impact those maintenance and operations, or how you use the park. We are open to that feedback. We will update you again once we have digested all the information. The website is the best place to look for updates on the project. And we look forward to moving this forward. So with that, I think I'll say good night and thanks again.